I did want to ask you, Garry, about the future of rocket design. There are a number of applications in space for rockets that don't rely so much on chemical reactions, for example, like which prevents you from having to carry a lot of heavy fuel. Things like electrical power to accelerate xenon ions to very high speeds. That's really, what do you see, not just for the sort of maneuvering and control little things, but for the big things? Are there any major technologies coming down the road that could fundamentally change the business of putting heavy objects into space, or are we pretty much stuck with what we've got?
It is hard to beat hydrogen combustion. When you want to go take heavy things very fast. You're taking me back to some years that I spent managing what we call advanced propulsion, and we thought of all kinds of things. We thought about lasers, laser propulsion to shoot the vehicle into space. We thought about augmenting the lift off with a magnetic rail, for example, to get it up to speed so that you don't have to carry the big boosters. One of the big technologies that we spent a lot of effort on that is still out there is air breathing combined cycle propulsion. We had the National Aerospace Plane program back in the early 90s. We had X-33 and Venture Star in the 90s. Single stage to orbit is still, you got combustion, but you're leaving one propellant on the ground. You're breathing air. I think combined cycle going to hypersonic propulsion is one of those things that will eventually happen. We took it on earlier than we should have. We were a little bit optimistic about how lightweight we could make a vehicle, what kind of thermal protection we would need because we're traveling through the atmosphere at Mach 7 or 8 or whatever it turns out to be. All of those technologies will come along someday. I think the nearest term non-combustion kind of technology, though, will be nuclear propulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we've really got our mind on Mars, and we don't want to spend forever in cislunar space, if we really want to go outbound into the solar system and beyond, I'm a believer that nuclear propulsion or a hybrid of solar electric propulsion and nuclear propulsion will be what gets us to Mars.
Interesting.
The nuclear is getting a fresh look. I saw Pam, who's our listeners, the deputy administrator of NASA, announce that NASA and DARPA is going to work on a nuclear program for engines.
I'm happy about that. I'm really an advocate because, we've done, Moon is hard. Mars is an order of magnitude harder. And if we really, the big deal with Mars is if we want to protect the crew, limit the radiation environment, and actually take people to Mars, we've got to get there as fast as we can. Now, I'm all for taking cargo and pre-placing resources on Mars with solar electric or anything we can. It can be a slow boat, but I would be for putting the crew on the nuclear system and getting them there as fast as we can. Plus, you can go anytime with the nuclear system. You don't have to wait for the 2-year cycle.
When the planets align.
You have to wait for the planets to be aligned. Otherwise, with nuclear system, you've got so much performance, you can go direct.
Yeah.